6:46, yeah, 6:46 here on a Wednesday morning. Welcome back to Good Day. It's time for our morning cup of Joe segment, and Sheriff Joe Lombardo is here. How you doing?
Good morning.
Happy belated Thanksgiving.
Oh, you too, buddy.
Let's get into the news here. Last month, I'm sure you're aware, a woman died more than 2 years after 1 October. She'd been paralyzed in the shooting. The story of Kim Gervase, very tragic. So that death toll then from the shooting goes from 58 to 59. I guess the question is, does Metro classify her passing as a 1 October casualty, and how does that get qualified?
It's a good question, and obviously I didn't have experience reference this. You know, hopefully nobody.
It's unusual, yeah.
It's unusual to have this experience to even be asked that question, but it does increase the number to 59. But I think the 58 will move forward in perpetuity. It doesn't mean to lessen her death at all. No. I mean, all the victims associated with 1 October rise to the utmost importance. But as far as discussion points, the 58 is more representative of what occurred in the immediate aftermath of that event. You know, that night and the following morning, the people that expired or died directly associated with the event.
Okay. I guess when it comes to, from a law enforcement perspective, the learning about how to respond, or I guess from a community standpoint, you're suggesting that it's the immediate aftermath that 58 references, not to diminish Kim's passing, but that's just kind of where you're coming from.
It's just easy for us to continue to talk in that direction. Obviously, the record books will show her death as an additional number, and it's unfortunate we continue to talk about that, though, because there's still individuals that are in full-time medical care associated with that event. So the number could, conceivably change in the future also.
It's tragic, no matter which way you look at it. There's another tragedy. Last month, 2 students killed in a school shooting outside Los Angeles. It was recently reported the gun that was used in that was what's known as a ghost gun.
Right.
What is a ghost gun, and is this something that law enforcement deals with on a regular basis? Yeah,
it's very troublesome for law enforcement. A ghost gun is a gun that is put together, made by an individual with disparate parts. In other words, parts that you received from a friend or from online or a gun show or a gun store, and they don't have any registration numbers, any serial numbers associated with them, and once they're put together, they're considered a weapon or a firearm, but it's without registration. So as long as you use it personally and you don't resell it, it's legal. If you attempt to resell it or continue to manufacture them for resale, it's illegal. Okay. And a particular firearm has to be identified with the identifying serial number.
Back here in the Valley, a big issue we've been talking about for a while now. I think we've discussed it a little bit too. Las Vegas' City Council passing the controversial ordinance that deals with the homeless being arrested if they're sleeping on city streets. What discussions have you had, has Metro had with the City of Las Vegas on how this is going to go forward when it really goes into effect in 2020?
Yeah, well, you can imagine we've had numerous conversations because the public has had numerous conversations, and it's a concern. It's a volatile issue, and you're basically de facto criminalizing homelessness. That's some of the rhetoric associated with it. But what it does, it gives the business owners some relief or some solace associated with the homeless and what is left by the homeless as a result of them camping, per se, in front of their businesses and other locations that have been identified as a de facto order out area within the city of Las Vegas. So what happens with law enforcement is we encounter an individual and we present services for them and we determine whether services are available. That's some of the nuances that have to be worked out, the communications with the service providers. Is there a bed available? We have an individual willing to accept a bed. Can we bring them to you? If the individual says no, service averse, I don't want your help, get away from me, basically, and there is no beds available, then we have the ability to effect an arrest.
Does that put law enforcement in a bit of a tough bind if some of these details are still being hashed out? It seems like even though the law has been passed by the city, from a law enforcement standpoint, maybe there's still some ambiguity of how it's actually going to go into practice in February?
You're exactly right, and that's the reason why it's a February date. So it passes in November, but it's not implemented until February, because we have education and training of the service providers and the police officers and what their options are and what are available, and to identify the order out areas.
Yeah.
You know, the particular boundaries associated with the resolution or the ordinance. They have to be educated on that.
Well, we'll see how it goes. Sheriff, we appreciate you coming in this morning. Thank you very much. Once again, if you have a question for Sheriff Joe Lombardo, you can submit it at 8newsnow.com and find out if your question is answered every Wednesday. Good Day Las Vegas is back right after this.